Hey everybody out there, this is Seto, and today for you guys we're going to be talking about something that just about everybody has been talking about lately. I wasn't planning on talking about it, but I got a lot of comments and on my Q&A video, and just in general a lot of comments on Facebook and messages on Facebook asking me to talk about the topic about where is the ban list, my thoughts on the ban list coming up, and just things in general. A lot of other YouTubers and people in the community have been talking about this, considering the fact that it has been 6 months since the last ban list. A lot of people may not like my opinions, and that is perfectly fine. If you don't agree with me, that's perfectly fine. This is a discussion. This is not who's wrong or right. It's a discussion. Literally, that's what this is. And these are just my thoughts about Konami and the ban list, and just, you know, not necessarily what should get hit on the ban list, but just where is the ban list in general, why have we not gotten one, things of that nature, and my thoughts on should we or should we not. So pretty much there's a lot of pros and cons to we should have a ban list by now and things of that nature. And I've always been one to have a ban list date. Personally, for my reason I've always wanted just to have ban list dates back is because it gives the community, you know, confidence to invest in sets coming out and not have to worry about, oh, well, there could be a ban list coming out, but I don't know. I have to gauge between 1 or 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you know, or Konami may drop it earlier and then hit something in general and then make that deck I just spent all that money on obsolete. It's like, it's a gambling kind of. It's like back when we had a ban list date, I felt more confident investing in product than I do now, because nowadays I'm more careful with what I buy and what sets I buy from, because you don't know if it's going to get hit in a week, 2 weeks, 3 months, 4 months later. You don't know nowadays because there's now a ban list and you can't gauge upon how much time you're going to have in between. Ever since last year, it's been kind of making me hesitant. So some things, however, even though I say all this about, you know, I do like the idea of dates on the ban list, I also think that it is unnecessary to have dates as well. And I'm not opposed to what Konami's been doing for the last 2 years or so. The reason for that being is if you pay attention to this format we've been in and where we started at, and how much change has gone over in the format over the last 6 months, how many mini formats we have had in the last month, I don't think we've really needed a ban list necessarily. I don't think it has been called for to have a ban list necessarily. The reason I say that is because look at the start of the format what we had. We had Blue Eyes White Dragon, Cosmos still doing a thing for like a month or two. Then we had ABCs come out and everybody started playing ABCs, and then that was October, and then in November we had Paleozoics come out, and Ties of the Brethren came out at the end of October, so you had people playing ABC, Paleozoics, you know, Ties of the Brethren with Magispector builds, Pendulum builds, things of that nature, so it was very diverse. And then we had, you know, I know we had Dark Lords kind of in that mix there too for a while in November and December. And then we had January happen. And what happened in January? Well, Pendulum Domination finally came out over here in the TCG. And what did everybody start playing? DDDs, man, you know, for a while. So, you know, all those previous decks kind of got nerfed because another powerful deck came out. And then Raging Tempest came out 3 weeks later. And what did Raging Tempest do? It introduced Zodiacs, and it power creeped everything that came before it, literally. And then what happened 2 weeks later? We had Edeons come out. And Edeons kind of, you know, Edeons, whatever the thing is, the fusion archetype that can be splashed. You know, we've seen that be thrown into a whole bunch of different decks as an engine and be playing a whole bunch of different decks. And now we've seen, instead of ABCs, Paleozoics all the time, we're seeing Infernoids, Zodiac builds, you know, Wind Witches, and everything else under the sun just for the last 3 weeks. The formats have just been shifting constantly. Every month the game has been faster. And I've noticed this over the last couple of years. the game and the meta in the game has been changing rapidly. The more and more you pay attention to the game competitively, it's changing every day. It's changing every week. It's changing every time there's a set nowadays. It literally is. It's changing so fast compared to when I was a kid and product didn't come out as much. Nowadays, we have product like every 2 weeks coming out. There's a new product coming out. You know, my wallet, I'm trying to save up money, and at the same time, like, well, I want those things and that things, but the meta's changing. I need to keep up with the meta. Tech cards, this and that. The game is constantly changing a lot. And it's so amazing to just watch the game in general do this. But at the same time, it's very annoying. But I can see why Konami would say, I don't think we really need to do a ban list. What would be the point? We hit these old decks that used to top like 2 months ago that are no longer topping. That's kind of redundant. That's kind of stupid. We should hit, you know, ABC Hanger because, you know, ABCs are doing nothing. We should hit, you know, these decks because, you know, we should hit DDDs because even though they were good for 2 weeks, they're doing nothing now, you know. People like that. And then there's the other group of people that are saying, hey, we should hit Zodiacs because Zodiacs are doing everything right now, even though they've been out for 2 weeks, or 3 weeks now, kind of, I guess you could say. And that's the way people feel like. Another thing people have to understand is the mindset of Konami after that pendulum, after the Pepe thing happened last year. Remember how pissed off the community was? When Pepe got hit, all those people that invested into that deck, they weren't expecting an emergency ban list. I mean, that deck, I think, was more powerful than Zodiac's was as a deck, as, you know, because I think Pepe was stronger than Zodiac's, really. Zodiac's as an engine is amazing, but Pepe as a deck, I think, was stronger. But literally, like, when Pepe came out, people were just, you know, when that ban list happened, there was a lot of backlash on Konami. They took a lot of heat for that, because there was only one event with it, and people only got to use it for that one event, and if they invested all that money, they lost it. And I know a lot of players personally, and just I've heard stories of a lot of players quitting Yu-Gi-Oh because they lost faith in Konami at that moment. And I apologize, guys, if the lighting is getting very dark. I have a whole bunch of lights on, but it's getting towards nighttime. Not as much good lighting going on here. But I know that's probably what Konami has in the back of their mind. They're thinking, like, we don't want this same thing to happen. And we also have what? We have more YCSs coming up in the next couple of weeks. We have a UDS coming up and things of that nature. Okay. So if my deduction is correct, we may get one towards the end of March. That makes sense. That means that Zodiacs have had fun to play for 2 months at full power. So I could see one happening towards the end of March. After all these YCSs and things happen, they make a ban list. That, you know, that makes way for people to play with, you know, understand a new format for a month in April and things of that nature. Plus they have another set dropping in March, I know that. And then they also have the structured decks. So that'll make Zodiacs less powerful, make Dinosaurs more playable in April. And then come May, we'll have the new True Draco stuff coming out, new Zodiac stuff coming out, and then probably after Nationals, probably in June, I think, or August, we'll probably have the new Mechanics Link Summoning introduced to us. So that's how I foresee things happening. I think just the community is just in an uproar. I mean, I understand it. I understand why everybody's upset because, you know, hey, it's been 6 months. Aren't we supposed to get one every 6 months? No, Konami has said we're going to release it when we want to release it. And people banging on the door of Konami headquarters and calling and writing emails is going to do nothing. It won't, because Konami is a company and they're a business. And no matter if you don't like what they do, you probably love Yu-Gi-Oh, right? If you're watching this video, you love Yu-Gi-Oh! And no matter how much ruckus we make, it's just gonna, you know, Konami, they may listen to us a little bit, and they do. And I wish Konami, to some degree, had better communication, you know, between the player base and the company itself. But at the same time, I can tell for a fact, and I know for a fact, that over the last year to 2 years, Konami has been a lot more receptive than they used to be, and in general, there's more. It's not as much of a one-way street as it used to be, really. You know, we have things, you know, like when we had the YCSs, now we have good coverage. They also have, you know, I remember like they had Billy Brake, you know, doing coverage talks a couple months ago at a YCS. You know, I know, and people don't want to mention this, but Olympio over in Europe, he was in talks with Konami. We know for a fact that he was trying to do things with them, but however, it got shot down by the higher-ups. I think it could be Konami in the OCG because it's, you know, even though that Konami in North America is a subjugation, this is just a hypothesis and theory, but I think there's people in Konami that want to communicate with us, but they're not allowed to because they're a business and higher-ups won't allow them to do so. So in a way, I mean, I've seen more inroads made with Konami over the last 2 years than I have in the rest of Yu-Gi-Oh's history to some degree, and I think over time it will increase. I think this is just a frustration of the community to say, we want this to happen now. And it's not happening now, and it won't happen now. It will take time, like everything in life. You don't just walk up to somebody and just say, hey, I want this to happen right this moment. It takes time, no matter how much you argue and get red in the face, for things to happen. You don't snap your fingers unless you're a genie, unless you're La Jinn, the mystical genie, and you can summon him, you know, from his lamp and say, grant me the wish to have $1 million to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Unless you can do that, you know, then things are not going to happen right away, is what I'm saying, in life. That's not how life works. And I think I understand the frustration of the community, and I understand all that, but I don't think we need a ban list right this moment. I think it'll come later. I think it will come in due time. I think the format's fine. I'm actually happy with the format. And you may say, Seto, you're happy with Zodiacs? Yeah, and you want to hear my reason why? Because this format is actually diverse, really, in my opinion. Diverse? What do you mean? Look at how Zodiac's being played. That, you know, Zodiac's as an engine, the grass is greener, brilliant fusion, Eidolons, Wind Witches, there's a half a dozen other things I could think of off the top of my head, you know, that are being thrown in a whole bunch of different decks. It reminds me of the early Zero era, late 5D Zero, early Zexal era, when people were just throwing, you know, plant engines and everything, and Tengu and a whole bunch of different decks, and you know, Teledad with psychics and E-Tele being thrown at everything. It's very reminiscent because we see all these different engines being thrown in a whole bunch of different decks. We're seeing artifacts thrown in things again. I mean, the format is very creative and very diverse. We're seeing Barrio Stun be able to top. I mean, Zodiacs is there's the Zodiac deck, and then you have Zodiacs being thrown in every other deck. You have Grasses Greener being played in a whole bunch of decks. I've seen Wind Witches being thrown in a whole bunch of decks. I've seen Artifacts and Cosmos and, you know, Eidolons. I've seen all Eidolon Blue Eyes. I've seen Eidolon this deck, Eidolon that deck. It's diverse, actually. It's kind of fun to see engines be a thing in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! You know, you see brilliant fusion and everything nowadays. So while people may not dislike the format just because of the Zodiacs, I think it's very diverse and it's very fun to watch. Does it mean I'm going to go competitive? No, I'll watch and enjoy the game for what it is right now. I'm still going to play competitively, you know, what I can for fun, you know, at locals and whatnot, but I'm not going to go to major events and everything like that because I'm not investing in a deck that is possibly going to get hit. I'll bide my time. You know, I'm looking at Link summoning down the road and I'm kind of like, okay, well, you're the future of Yu-Gi-Oh! I should invest in you, not the present. And for that reason, it is just my thoughts. And another thing on Link summoning here, I feel like Link summoning is literally a check to a lot of decks. And people may say, well, Seto, you know, I've seen all these combos done by Zodiacs and all these decks, you know, they can still combo off with Link summoning. And while that is true, you have to remember of how many bloody board wipes are in the game right now. 2 Dark Hole, Regeki, 3 Kaiju Slumber, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 board wipes. Oh, and don't forget Torrential Tribute, which is a 6, which people are playing nowadays. And then you got people playing Mirror Force, the Mirror Force, OG Mirror Force, and a whole bunch of different decks. So that's kind of a board wipe in itself. So I mean, I don't no, I think link summoning will check a lot of the mechanics even out now. And people will say, well, that's not true. But yes, you can't put link monsters face down, but I haven't read anything on link monsters that say, or heard anything that says, I can't just Regeki you, I can't just dark hole you away, I can't just bounce you back to the extra deck. You know, you waste all these resources to put a link monster out, back in the extra deck you go to the graveyard you go. Now you wasted your resources, now it's my turn to go off. So saying that, I think link summoning is in its way a kind of a ban list. However, I wish Konami would just announce a ban list at the end of the day. I wish they would do something like what the OCG did. That way we just know. It's a communication thing. Like, just a ban list coming out saying, no changes to the ban list. That way I know as a player, okay, the link summoning is going to check a lot of these decks, and they'll probably make a ban list when we get closer to link summoning. That way I know as a player what to expect. But because Konami's not communicating, they haven't done that yet. However, I do feel my bones will probably get one towards the end of March, early April. We'll definitely get one before the link summoning mechanic comes out. I know that for a fact. But also, like I said, link summoning is a big check to a lot of decks, really. I mean, you invest so much into like a link monster, and then if it backfires on you, you've wasted resources, kind of. So, only time will tell how everything works out, but it will be fun to watch how the game progresses. But I'm not upset at Konami, really. I'm not. They can do what they want to do, release the ban list when they want to. Just communicate a little bit better, and I'd be happy. But those are just my thoughts, guys, on what everybody's been talking about how I feel that there should not be a ban list really right now. There's no need for one necessarily. Though it has been 6 months, so be it. I mean, the format's changed so much. What would they do? Hit old decks that are dead? That's pointless. That's pointless. And link summoning kind of cripples some of these decks as well. Why hit them? So, I mean, I don't see a reason. And, you know, they're in this, it's kind of this middle ground where, you know, Zodiacs haven't been out long enough for them to hit a deck. And there's a lot of events coming up. And now we just screw all those people that are going to those events because they hit Zodiacs. So, patience is what I'm going to say to everybody out there. Be patient. Everything will come in due time. Till next time, take care. Have fun dueling. Good luck dueling. I'll see all of you guys next time. Take care, everybody.